So now we're at the meeting. You had asked this question before, Kimberly. What else at that meeting? So once we come out of closed session, we go through that process of selecting who you want to interview. Then we're just going to talk a little bit more, make sure we're ready for first round interviews, which are going to be coming up shortly after. Part of that's going to be for you to select interview questions. So before that meeting, we will be sending you, we have a bank of questions that we have developed for first round interviews. We'll be sending those to you so you can review them in advance, but then, and again, open session that night at the meeting. We'll go back to that, and there are 7 categories of questions, 7 board members. Ultimately, you're each going to get a category. And it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be, for example, if one category would be finance, you could think, oh my gosh, don't let me be the person asking finance questions, I'm financially illiterate. Honestly, it doesn't matter, you're just asking the questions. But within each of those categories, there are multiple choices. We're going to ask you as a board collectively to pick basically 3 from each category. So you'll have had a chance to look at them in advance. We'll talk it out that night. And we can do it publicly without revealing what the questions are publicly, because we could say, all right, in this category, let's say there are 6 questions by number, which ones do you want to pick? So then we can talk openly. Well, what about numbers 1, 3, and 5, right? So we'll pick the questions that night. We will then, behind the scenes, get those questions ready for you. And when we show up all together for those first round of interviews, we'll be here. We'll have the interview questions printed out, 1 set for each candidate. If you have 5 candidates, you'll have 5 sets of questions. Lots of space between the questions, so you can take lots of notes. And we'll have those bound and ready, and we'll have those in front of you at the board table. So all you have to do after you pick those questions that night is when you come back to the interviews, you'll have those questions in front of you. And we'll designate who's asking which questions, and it will be consistent. So you will ask the same exact questions in exactly the same order for each of the candidates. And in that first round especially, we don't have any variance at all. Sometimes the question is, do we do follow-up questions? No, partly because this is timed. This can be up to 90 minutes. And it doesn't have to go that long, but we have a hard cap at 90, so candidates could finish in less than that. They cannot exceed 90 minutes. If it looks like candidates are going along, I'll talk with Kimberly about how we want to go about it in advance, but we'll have a way to kind of signal so that at some point, Kimberly, as the board president, would say, you know, we have 8 questions left and this much time left, and we may need to pick up the pace of the remaining responses in order to get through all of the questions. So if the candidates go a little bit slow and we're worried that they may not get through everything, we'll give them a prompt. In all these years, I've only had 1 candidate. Usually they'll heed the prompt and we're fine. 1 time a person didn't get through all the questions, once, because usually that reminder will help. And again, you'll have some people, whether it's nervousness or they're just succinct in their answers. I think the shortest interview, and one that could go up to 90, in my memory, has been 45 minutes. That can happen too, right? So what we'll typically do is stagger them, and I'll ask the second candidate coming in to be there early enough so that once you finish the first interview, you take a 10-minute break, the candidate's here, and then they're ready to start when you reconvene after a 10-minute break. We recommend that you don't do any more than 2 interviews per night, because suppose both of those interviews go up to 90 minutes, we have you take a 10-minute break in between. You're already up to 3 hours and 10 minutes. That goes back to what you said before, Fred. Your attention can start to wane, right? And so we think it's too much. And so you've got in your schedule here, March 16th to 18th, that can accommodate up to 6 interviews if you do 2 per night. Question is, so what if we pick 7 people? Well, we'll adjust this. We'll talk about this at that time, and we'll find a way to do what we have to do to adjust this and make it work. So this would be 2 interviews per night. If you have, let's say, 4 people only, you can tell me which night you want to knock off the schedule, and we'll only use 2 of these. So you'll show up that night, you'll conduct those interviews, you'll read the questions as they're right in front of you, you'll take notes, and that will be your only responsibility on those nights. Let me ask you, with that in mind, considering they could be up to 3 hours and 10 minutes, what time do you want to start?
I'm always for the early time, but I don't know if the other board members feel like.
Whatever works for you.
Y'all wanna do that 5 o'clock time again, 6 o'clock?
I'm looking at my work calendar.
Looking at her. And Andrew, what about your work schedule, anybody work schedule?
Right now, 5 o'clock that week might be a little rough, knowing my meeting cadence with work.
So while they looking at their schedule, so this is what I'm hearing, that each board member would ask questions, and it'll be one candidate in the room at a time.
Yes, correct. First candidate walks in, you're gonna go through the questions in order. The candidate wraps up, take a 10-minute break. Second one comes in, go through exactly the same questions, same order.
And it's a public interview.
Oh, yeah.
And what date is that again?
This is starting March 16th, so it's March 16th, 17th, and 18th. That's a Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
My preference, as much as I know we want to get it done early, is 6. I can't project that far out as to being able to get it by 5.
I like the 6 too, because
Okay.
I don't know what I'm doing next year.
Okay.
I don't know, Andrew, how did it work for you?
Yeah, 6 would work easier.
Yeah, 6 would be better.
And then, and just for that flexibility piece, maybe we revisit it in February,
Yeah,
and
we
we
can-
can move it up. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean, then we move it up.
Yeah, this
It's kinda
remains
hard to project.
subject to change. I mean, it's good to have this, put it all on the calendar, stick this week. It's important all 7 of you are here, but, yeah, if we need to change anything, of course, if everybody agrees to, we can do it.
Okay.
They are public, we'll have feedback, we'll have an opportunity for people who are present to provide their feedback. We could do that either through the old-fashioned paper form, where we pass them out or make them available. People can write their responses. Typically, it's 3 questions. What impressed you about this candidate? What may concern you about this candidate? And do you have any questions that you would like to ask this candidate going forward? Something along those lines. So we collect that, and we share then those. If it's paper, we make 7 copies. Each of you gets a full set, so you can consider that. More recently, I've had some boards who create a QR code, and they do it that way so that the responses come in electronically and you can easily access them. That's going to be your preference, but just know that anybody who's participating in the interviews who's present will have an opportunity to provide their feedback.
So I know we've been having a discussion about having our board meetings, I don't say televised, but not televised, like via Zoom or.
Streamed.
Yeah, streamed, thank you, I could not think of the word for anything right now. But, so we've been talking about that, so I don't know if we'll be at that process yet, but talk to us a little bit about whether or not these should be streamed to allow more participation.
The more transparent and inclusive you can be with this, the better off you are. So if you're able to, especially if you're streaming other meetings, I guarantee you get pushback. The question would be that, well, if you're streaming these other meetings, why are you not streaming these interviews? I can't comment, I'd like to see them.
Right.
So I think if you're able to, sure, and then what we could talk about too, if you're streaming them too, you could, if you wanted to, also provide that same QR code to people who are watching in that way. They can also provide feedback, and you get that much more. It's important to stress that whatever, it goes back to what we talked about before, you have to take the feedback you get for what it's worth. People will have various opinions, right? Your constituents aren't making this decision for you. Like it or not, you bear the burden of making this huge decision, right? But you should consider what your stakeholders have to say, right? That's not making a decision for you, and yet it's important to know what they think. You should absolutely read it carefully and seriously consider it as you're making decisions about who advances in this process. So, and so if you're able to do that, if you can stream them and get feedback from people watching in that way, you are being that much more inclusive and transparent, which are 2 of the things that we want to accomplish to as great an extent as possible.
And if we aren't able to stream, if we don't get to the point that we can stream all of our board meetings, would it be okay to stream this process? Yes.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Now, I will address this real quickly too, because it comes up and it's maybe an afterthought if you're not thinking of it now. So you have 3 nights of interviews. you're live streaming these interviews, and so I'm a candidate coming in on the third night. I can watch your live stream. I can know the questions, I can see how other people are responding, and I can be fully prepared to answer the questions, where the first or second person interview doesn't have the same advantage. Frankly, there's some truth to that. Could somebody do that? Yes, they could. What we do is we communicate quite a bit with the candidates once you selected them, and what we tell them about this is our expectation, yours as a board, ours as the consultants, is that we're trusting that you're going to approach this professionally and ethically, and you're not going to watch the interviews and get the questions in advance, right? All you can do is trust people that they're going to, and having done this again many, many times, I have had very little, if any, really reason to think that anybody has really tried to cheat. I think that these are professionals, and they'll honor that. We're confident of that. Can we guarantee it? No, we can't. It's better to be upfront about that, right? But we trust that the vast majority of people, and hopefully everybody who's participating in your process, would honor that, and they'll come in here and hear these questions for the first time when they're in front of you. Okay.
So we have to ask them the same questions, or because if there's a possibility that we gonna live stream, can we pick 3 sets of questions?
To compare it kind of apples to apples, so to speak, what you want to be able to do is see how all of your applicants responded to the exact same questions, asked in the exact same order by the
Okay.
same people.
Okay,
Then you've got a very fair, equitable comparison to make.
it makes sense.
And I think a person can go and they can watch any interview, any superintendent interview, you know what I mean, to get a feel for
Well,
questions and get a.
that's such a
you know,
good
and
point.
so it can happen, you know.
That's such a good
Who
point.
you are is who you are, and how you show up is how you're gonna show up.
That's
So-
an excellent point. And frankly, if you are a very well-prepared candidate, if you go out there, because other boards have recorded interviews and they're still out there.
Yeah.
And frankly, you may have somebody who has done their homework and they've researched what other questions have been asked in other searches, and they're going to come in really well prepared, where you might even think, oh, they must have cheated. They must have watched, the other night's interviews. Well, maybe not. Maybe they were just smart enough and invested the time to really do their homework and be extremely well prepared. Frankly, that's to their credit, right?
Or they could have been this isn't their first time interviewing, of course.
Well, absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
You get better over time.
Oh, that's
So.
Such a
you
good
know,
point. That's such a good point, that's true. Okay, so let's suppose you have 3 nights of interviews, and we've got you coming back, and we do this deliberately. We don't want you making a decision on a night when you're tired, you just went through several interviews.
And you've gone through 3 nights of interviews.
Yes, yeah,
right?
it's intense, right? And you're still getting feedback, and you want time to consider the feedback you get on the last candidates too, on the last night. So we have you coming back, and so this is the most intense week of the process, 4 nights. We have you coming back on the 4th night. On the 4th night, we'll talk a little bit on after the last interview about what to prepare for when you come back and what to be ready for, but I'll tell you now. You're going to walk in for that meeting on Thursday the 19th, ready to say, here's who I would like to advance as a finalist, or finalist in this process. There is no number you have to pick. Most often we'll see 2. Sometimes there have been 1, not ideal, but if there really truly is only 1 that the board is interested in, so be it. We still go through the process with the 1 remaining person. Sometimes there's 3. If that's the case, that's okay. We'll make that work too. But again, we're going to do just like we did before when you picked who you wanted to interview, 1 by 1. You'll say what you want as an individual. Here's who I would like to advance as a finalist. To whatever extent you're comfortable doing so, we want you to say why. Not only, again, transparency for your constituents, but for your fellow board members too, because ultimately you're going to vote on this, right? So we'll tally that for you. So it should become pretty clear once all 7 of you have weighed in, and we'll repeat it back to you. All right, 6 of you said you wanted this person to advance. 5 of you said you want. So where the majority lies, you'll be ready to make a motion, and off you go. You will pick your finalist and be ready for what comes next. And then we talk just a little bit more that night about second round and second round interview questions, etc. So that meeting probably, I usually say maybe an hour for that one. It's not as intense as the first three that week, but, so we'll pick your finalists, and then we'll talk about second round and be ready to move on for that. What time do you want to start that meeting? 6 o'clock again? All right, so we've got right now March 24th and 25th set scheduled for finalist interviews. This would, as it's structured now, this would accommodate 2 finalists. I'm going to suggest to you here, for you, that you typically start your meetings at 7. I'm going to suggest that you start each of those interviews 2 separate nights at 7 o'clock. Because what happens on those days, and this is assuming you have 2 finalists. If you have more or less, we'll adjust the schedule. The candidates are coming into the district earlier in the day. And we arrange for stakeholder groups, typically the same ones who we talked to earlier on in the process, to be able to come in, meet these candidates, and ask them questions and get an impression of them. And then we ask them to provide feedback, more feedback for you, right, so that you know what they think. So for these candidates, it's a full day. So they may be in here, let's say, roughly noon. They're meeting during the course of the day and into the late afternoon, at least, with various people, having all this conversation. We build in a break for them just so they can clear their mind, get a little bit of rest, get a bite to eat, and then at 7 o'clock, they're back in front of you with a new set of questions. Fewer questions this time because it's intense, so we'll typically ask, where in the first round it's about 21 questions, about 14 in the second round. But we also have to start in the second round with a presentation on a topic of your choice. The good news with that is that in an interview format, you get a typical 3 or 4 minute response to a question, roughly, right? With the presentation, we tell candidates that ballpark, they can take up to 15 to 20 minutes on this. So if there's a particular topic that you're really interested in hearing more about, golden opportunity to have the candidates speak in much more depth on that topic. So 2 birds with 1 stone. You get to hear from a content standpoint what they're saying about that topic, that question. But you also get to see their presentation skills. You know how important that is for a superintendent too, so you'll get a glimpse of that. So normally we'll say that this can be up to 80 minutes. We only time the full thing, we only time it up to 80, and I tell the candidates that the breakdown typically is about 20 for the presentation, about 60 for interview questions, but honestly, we're not timing. If a candidate, and I've seen it, takes 35 minutes for their presentation, so be it. And they've left themselves with less time for questions, so they better be more succinct in their question responses, because they only get 80, right? Do you have a question?
So when you say we can learn more, are the presentation topics, do they have to be the same, or are they based upon questions from the first round?
We make the presentations the same for the finalists, and when we're talking on March 19th, when you've selected finalists, that's when we'll select the presentation topic. And so then when I call these candidates, I can tell them here's what you're going to present on. In the second round, since you're asking, we're going to give you a bigger bank of interview questions to pick from, but you can make up your own. You can pick from maybe in the feedback that you get. Remember, people are going to be able to say there are questions I still have. There may be some great questions there. You can pick from those. And there can be some differentiation. The only thing I would say is that if you have a question specifically for one of your finalists that pertains to them, not the other one, you have to do the same for the other one. And then all the other questions are the same. If you have 2 that are specific to one of the finalists, you need to have 2 for the other one, and then all of the other questions are the same, just for equity.
Gotcha, not the same topic, but the same.
Right, the specific questions could be, so you might be asking one of your finalists 2 questions that pertain only to that person. You're asking the other finalist 2 questions that pertain only to that person, and then the other 12 questions are the same for both. So we'll ask you at that time for each of you to submit 4 to 5 questions that you would like us to ask. And it could include those questions specific to the candidates. And we're going to end up picking 2 from each of you. And those are the 2 questions that you're going to ask in the second round. Part of the reason we asked you to overshoot is if you ask a question that we think maybe a little bit shaky and you shouldn't be asking, we can bounce it out of there. If there's redundancy and you're suggesting the same questions, we can overcome that too. So that's going to be the ask of you, is that you submit 4 to 5 that you can pick from what we give you, from what your constituents suggested to you, from what's in your own mind. You could look at the candidate profile and think, man, we haven't learned too much about this from anybody, right? Let me ask the questions that surround this so that we can get a sense as to whether or not they fit here, whatever the case might be. So that's how that's going to work.
So on that day, March 24th through the 25th, dinner, they leave for dinner, so dinner will be on them. And then they'll come back for the interview with us.
I'll normally work with your folks. I'll probably talk to Kim, and honestly, and I've learned this the hard way every time, I used to take them out somewhere locally. But I learned that candidates, they're too nervous. They are not enjoying being out, they're not,
Right.
and you could run into snow, rain, you know,
Right.
you get somebody who's all kind of dressed to impress, and now they're getting doused with snow and rain. So I ask normally the district just to provide something light. We'll have the person stay right on site. We can offer to either stay with them if they want company, or we'll give them some private time, whatever they prefer, and make sure that they're ready to roll when it's time for you to talk to them.
Okay, that's fair.
All right.
We're gonna take out of here now.
So that's March 24th and 25th, assuming we have 2 interviews, and again, we'll adjust if we need to. So you're not making any decision at the end of this, but you're going to be getting more feedback, not only from those stakeholder meetings before the interviews, but anybody who's watching the interviews can give you feedback on those more. So you'll have that to consider. And then what we got on Thursday, March 26th, and this is where you can make a choice here, and we can vary this if we need to. What districts have been turning to far more often lately is a combination of district tours, which means that the candidates each come in and separately, and you can be involved in this. If a couple of you wanted to do this, or you wanted to have a district personnel take them around, but you take the candidates on kind of a tour of your district and pop into some buildings, interact with students and staff, and just get a sense of comfort level, and it exposes them to that many more people who could also say, boy, we love this person, or yikes, not so much, right? So, and for the candidates too, it could be beneficial. So that's one part of it. The meet and greet is we find a large room, could be this room, someplace else, one of the media centers in the schools, but we have the finalists in the same room, separated, and it's an open invitation to literally anybody in your community who wants to come and meet them, have a conversation. And as usual, we're providing an opportunity for them to give you feedback on that. We tell board members, you can be present for that to see what that looks like. Just don't start congregating and have a lot of dialogue, because that's going to look bad. It's going to look like you're deliberating out of the public eye. So be there, watch, observe, and learn what you can from that. That would be the last step. The other thing that districts have done, and I believe you've done it before too, is site visits. That's where a subcommittee of the board goes to the home district of the candidates, and you get a chance to talk to stakeholders where that person is currently working, and ask questions of them and see what you can learn from them. It's kind of is what we see, what we're really going to get. Again, districts have been shying away from that more and going more to this more recently. But if you felt strongly about that, we can talk about that and work that into the schedule. But it would be, we're looking to do one or the other, either the district tours and the meet and greet, or those site visits instead. So,
I think site visits take the community out of the process.
I think you're right about that. I think you're right. I mean, I think there's value in that, but there's value in this too. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other to some extent, so.
And I was just talking, were we talking about it now?
Sure. What do we think? Strong opinions on that, one way or the other?
I think the more community involvement, the better. I think if we did a site meet and greet within the applicant's district, it's not going to go over well with members of the community,
Okay.
especially with the track record of the last few superintendents.
They might have haters, you all got that teacher like, coming up to you.
That's possible,
Yeah.
sure.
I just, like with Andrew, I just think it takes them out of at least for me, it's very important that the community, staff, everyone is engaged in this process.
Yeah, absolutely, to us too. So, know that we got a lot of time, and if there's reason to revisit this at some point, we certainly can, but as of now, we'll plan on this. So that will take place on Thursday, March 26th.
No, Andrew started talking, no, I mean, y'all said it all, you know, it's what's important is what's going on here. And these the last two finalists, so we already believe in them, so,
Right.
yeah.
Right. So hopefully at this point, so you will have collected a lot of data now on these people. You'll have their applications, resume and cover letter. Guaranteed, when they come to interview, they're gonna give you more. Because we don't have them submit, for example, letters of recommendation, they may wanna give you some. We don't have them submit portfolio of any kind or any, so they may have other information they wanna give you, you'll have that to consider too. You're gonna have your own notes from 2 interviews. You're gonna have a lot of feedback from your constituents from both the interviews and those stakeholder meetings before the finalist interviews and from the meet and greets. Maybe what you're hearing from the buildings, from the building tours. So after March 26th, you're gonna walk away from all of this. You got a spring break in there, so you're gonna have plenty of time to think about this before you come back together. The district opens back up again on Monday, April 6th. We've got you coming back on Tuesday, April 7th, to select your new superintendent after having taken some time to deliberate and really be thoughtful about where you want to go with this.
So all of this will be able to be involved in taking them around the district.
Say again.
All board members?
In the district, well, what we ask again is we always try to get to stay away from too many of you, a quorum being together if at all possible. So I would say up to 3 of you at a time if you want to take them around. And since there's, again, presumably 2 candidates going around, that could involve up to 6 of you. I'm guessing at least 1 of you wouldn't be available anyway. So it's very likely anybody who would want to be a part of that can. I would expect so. So when you come back on Tuesday, April 7th, I'm going to assume 6 o'clock again for that? Yeah?
Yeah. I would say that for now, yeah.
Basically, one item of business, but it's a big one. You're going to pick the person you want to be your next superintendent. And for consistency, we're going to do exactly the same as we did before. Each one of you, one at a time, can say, here's who I would like to hire as our next superintendent, and here's why. There may be disagreement, and it's okay. The intent is you're not going to argue with each other. And I should say this now, I didn't say it before. Whenever you're publicly talking about these candidates, when you're deciding who you want to pick to interview, who you want to advance as a finalist, who you want to be your next superintendent, what you're never at any point doing is saying, here's why I don't want the other person. Here's why I don't want these other people.
Okay.
You never speak ill of any of these people publicly, ever. Whatever positively you'd like to say, knock yourselves up, right? So you can speak, if you, and you could even with finalists, if you wanted to say, well, you know, boy, I really like both of them. I think there's a lot to like about both, but here's why I think this person is the best fit for us. Each of you gets to do that. Now you've been very transparent. Your colleagues know what you think and why. The public knows what you think and why. We let the chips fall where they may, and we see where there's a majority. If you have more than 2 finalists, it could be that you don't get a majority, and that gets a little bit tricky, but we'll work through it. But let's assume for now that you'll have a couple of finalists, you'll have a clear majority, somebody makes a motion, and you're about to pick your next superintendent. The one thing we strongly encourage, let's say 2 of you named one of the finalists, 5 of you named the other. So now it's very apparent who's about to be selected as your next superintendent. You're one of the people who named one of the other 2. A, hopefully you think you've got 2 strong finalists and you're going to be okay with it. But B, we encourage you, but it's not required, to vote yes on the motion.
All 7 board members.
All 7 of you, even if you're one of the people who said out loud, I want the other person, but if the motion is in support of the one where there's a majority of the board who's clearly supporting that person, we want you to vote yes for 2 reasons. It shows board unity. You're going to immediately get behind this huge decision. And also what that communicates to the person who's about to be your next superintendent. That's a strong message to send to that person too. And you're being transparent. You would have just publicly already said, I would really rather hire the other person. So a yes vote is simply to say, okay, you know, I see where we're going with this, and I'm going to get behind it immediately. Do you have to do that? No. Can you vote no if you really want to? Of course you can. Right? We're encouraging you at that point if it's split. And maybe it won't be. Maybe you're all gonna just absolutely get knocked over, head over heels by one of these candidates, and all 70 want the same person, and great, right? But if not, that's okay. All right, and you will not have hired the person yet. The last order of business is to negotiate the contract, and then you have to take action at a board meeting to hire that person by a board vote. So, as I said before, you'll want to have your legal counsel have a contract drafted, plug in the numbers, give that to the candidate you pick as a first draft. That person may want to come back with a counteroffer. They may get their own attorney involved, take a look, and so maybe a bit of back and forth. At whatever point you finally have agreement on a contract, you take it to a board meeting. It could be at a regular meeting, could be a special meeting. Take action. Now it's official. Now you've got your new superintendent who's going to be ready to start on July 1st.
Just one question, so is this open to internal employees as well, the superintendent search?
Absolutely. So one of the questions I wanted to get to, I'll ask it now since you asked. If you expect, you don't even have to name them right now, but do you expect that there may be internal applicants? Would you think
Yes,
so?
yes.
Okay. So, I mean, that's great. And what will simply happen is that we don't treat them any differently throughout this process than anybody else. They go through exactly the same steps. They present you with the same information. We ask them the same questions. Even though it may seem odd, even if it's internal, we still have them go through the district tours, meet and greet. I mean, it could be even with a district tour, for example, that they may not, if it's a secondary person, they may not know the elementary people so well, and it would be important anyway. But we want equity in this process, and so we're going to treat it just the same, but by all means. So, and even if that goes in the same category, when you're recommending people you'd like for us to talk to, if one of those people is an internal, that's fine. You just give us that name, we'll reach out to that person, we'll encourage that, and off we go with it. So it can be difficult, I'll warn you ahead of time now. It can be tough when you've got internal applicants. Personally,
Because we know that external candidates will ask us,
yeah,
is there an internal candidate that's a favorite?
right. So thank you, because that's the most important thing we need to know about that. Is there anybody who you think now is likely to emerge from within your district to become your next superintendent? Would you think that's a likely outcome of this?
I know people.
Not just that they would apply, but if there's somebody who you're already kind of predisposed to think probably should be our next superintendent, they already work here, they're going to probably apply. Do you think anybody fits that, or would they just simply be on kind of even footing with everybody else?
For me, until they answered questions in front of the whole board, it would be an even footing.
Okay, okay.
But that's me, I can't speak for
No,
everyone.
that's right, okay.
I would agree with Andrew. I mean, I encourage all that are interested and I want to hear what
Okay,
they have to say.
all right. So they would be in effect on even foot, because so we can share that with.
Because that's really important for us to know
Yes, it is.
when we get calls from candidates, because that's one of the questions that they will ask.
Almost always. And so we can honestly say, A, yes, we expect that there will likely be internal applicants, but B, the board told us directly that they're not going to be advantaged in any way. They're going to be on an even footing with external candidates. Fair?
Is that a fair statement for us to make?
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay.
Okay, so, like, sometimes when you put out for applicants, right, you do in-house first. So are we doing in-house, are we gonna do in-house first and then do our house? No?
No.
Okay, since we talked
It's
about
a
it.
fair question. As of now, no.
Okay.
You've signed up kind of to do a full-blown search.
Okay,
If you felt like we've got such strong internal applicants that it's almost certain that it's going to be one of them, and we're confident enough that we don't have to look outside, you could interview the internal candidates first. Most often, boards don't do that. And that's only if you feel 100% confident that you don't have to look outside, that you've got the right person already within your district. Even if you don't know who that person is exactly, if you in your mind, man, we've got 2 or 3 people who would be great, right? We don't have to look elsewhere. We'll interview them only and pick one of them. You could do that. In most cases, boards say, we want to see how our internals stack up, because what you might get from your public is, well, what if there's somebody out there, these people may be great, what if there's somebody out there who would be even better for us right now?
We already agreed that we wanted to do a national.
Yeah.
Well, right, you basically already committed to the full-blown search
Right.
too.
All right.
That's a fair question.
I mean, I just asked because we was talking about internal, that's all.
Very fair
No, it's a
question.
fair question. I was just
Yeah.
saying that, okay, we'd already, you know.
I just did that in Dexter. I worked with them, they had 3 internal applicants, but that's what they chose to do up front though.
Right.
That's what we did, but you folks are looking to do the full search. All right, so we're finding number 5 on the agenda. Told you it would take us a while, but we're
Number
there.
5, I'm looking over here, I was finished.
No, you're not. On the agenda now, you're past the time limit. On the agenda, basic candidate qualifications. I'll try to expedite this. We're going to suggest that you make this pretty broad and inclusive, right? So let's say, in your mind, you want somebody, for example, with a doctorate degree. You don't want to put in the application, you got to have a doctorate degree, because you just shrunk your candidate pool down to this.
Right.
You're better off casting a very broad net, getting as many potential applicants as you can. If you can be as picky as you want to be when it comes to reviewing the applications and picking who you want. So once you look at who's applied, if you want to favor the people who have a PhD, knock yourselves out, you can do that, right? So if there's specific things you're looking for, that's the time to do it. But you want to cast a wide net and get as many people who may be a good fit to apply. So here's some language that we've used in other postings that, and I'll give you a chance to respond, that I think could work for you. Educational administration experience. I think we do want to say that you have to have that. No equivocation. Is that fair? Master's degree in a related field, advanced degree preferred. So you might say, so you're going to say basic requirements, you got to at least have a master's degree in a related field. But we'd love to see somebody with a specialist degree or a doctorate degree. So you've expressed a preference, but you're not excluding anybody that way. Broad and diversified work experience, classroom experience preferred. I promise you, when we talk to staff members, that's what we're going to hear from them. They're going to want people who've been in the classroom and understand. So again, you're not going to eliminate somebody who doesn't have it, but you're going to say we prefer it if you do. Michigan Administrative Certificate or the equivalent. Okay.
And that's for the out-of-state candidates.
That's for the out-of-state candidates, but I will say this. You could feasibly hire somebody who does not have the required certification. They could work on a permit if they enroll in a course or program that will get them the certification they need. And they have to take, I think it's at least 6 credit hours worth of courses each year, and that could be for up to 3 years. So technically, you could hire somebody who doesn't yet have that, and that might apply to an out-of-state candidate who's certified elsewhere but not in Michigan. And if you would be okay with that, we could soften that language a bit.
Because if they're out of state and they have certification out of state, there is reciprocity in Michigan. They just have to apply through the Michigan Department of Education.
Right, but technically, they don't have it. And so
They
this-
wouldn't have it, but they could apply for
So
it.
would the language be something around eligible for Michigan, cert, something like that?
Yeah, we can tweak that to soften it a bit so that we don't eliminate anybody.
And then the other question I have is that if they don't have it, and then just the things that you listed,
Mhm.
would that be something that they would be expecting the district to pay for them?
My personal opinion is no.
Oh.
I think they'd be making a commitment and
To do
saying,
it themselves?
that's my opinion. They may want to negotiate you.
I was just going to say, they may want to try to put it into their contract.
They could, but you're asking my opinion, so I'm sharing it. In my opinion, that's their obligation.
I agree.
I feel the same way, but I just wanted to know.
Yeah. And then, if we can, I really want you to weigh in on this one. You can say this or not. And this kind of covered, actually, Michigan Administrative Certificate too. Alternative qualifications as deemed acceptable by the Board of Education, meaning you could have somebody who applied who didn't have educational administration experience, but maybe they've been a CEO somewhere, they have a lot of really interesting experience, and you may decide, maybe we want to at least consider and talk to this person. I'd say probably not.
So I'll give another example
Yeah.
of several cases that I know of individuals who became superintendents who never had classroom experience.
Happen.
Superintendent of Livonia, who I work for, Randy Leopold,
Yeah.
never had classroom experience, was a CPA, came in as the district's financial officer, assistant superintendent for business services, then became assistant superintendent of administrative services, became superintendent, and then also went on to Wayne Risa as the superintendent.
He's now an MLI colleague of ours.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so
So there are some cases of that.
in my opinion, it doesn't hurt to put that kind of language in. Alternative qualifications is deemed acceptable by the Board of Education, so you have full control over that. That means if you have an outlier who applies, remember, you see all applications. When you look at it, you can either say yay or nay. You may look and say, we've got other really strong applicants with everything else we're looking for. We have no interest, so be it. You know, so all that does is if there's somebody out there who doesn't check one of the other boxes, but they have interest, that might encourage them to go ahead and apply, and then it's going to be totally up to you to decide where to go with that, if anything. So what do you think about that? We can take that or leave it, it's up to
I
you.
like what you said, after what you just said.
It kind of goes with the theory of casting that wide net. All right, you're not basically leaving anybody out.
There's always a superintendent shortage anyway, that haven't been.
Yeah, there is.
You look like you're hesitating.
Yeah, Ms.
I
Giddings
have
about
mixed
it?
feelings, but I can yield to the majority. And my mixed feelings just come thinking about the community and what has happened in the past.
Mhm.
And I just don't know how receptive the staff community would be to someone without that experience.
Your staff, I guarantee, won't like it.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about, because it says say with classroom experience, that's preferred.
Right, I mean, just that whole piece, like with, Mr. Lipa's experience, he went through a district.
Yeah,
Coming
Right,
up like
right,
that,
right.
right?
Yeah.
So, but he didn't come from the outside.
So you're talking about somebody coming from outside education?
Yes, yes.
Gotcha.
I just don't see that being welcomed, right?
It's
And that's just, so those are what my thoughts are, but it doesn't mean that we can't cast the net and make the decision as we go through. So I don't, and that's why I'm like, I have mixed feelings about it.
I mean, if that's the case, the first four things I mentioned, educational administrative experience, master's degree in a related field or higher preferred, broad and diversified work experience, classroom experience preferred, Michigan administrative certificate, or whatever the language we'll use to get there, or ability to obtain it within a 3-year period or something. That's pretty broad already. And if you really think your community is not going to go for anybody who doesn't have that educational background, you probably don't need that alternative qualifications language.
But then it may be somebody internally, you know what I mean, who doesn't, and they're interested. So I don't know.
But we gotta
I'm
make that
process.
You gotta get the people in there and start seeing them down, you know.
Yeah, I don't think there's any harm, because again, you have full control. You're only gonna interview people who you select out of your applicants, and you don't, if you wanna limit that at that time, only to people with that educational background, based on what you're saying, you have full control over that. So if you're okay with that, we'll leave it then. You're still gonna get a last shot at this, remember, we're gonna put that position announcement together. This would be in it, you're gonna see it, you're gonna have a last chance to weigh in before we post it. So if you have second thoughts, you can express those. All right, compensation and contract parameters. We talked a little bit about the contract parameters. Again, typically you'll post this as a 3-year. This, I would say, you don't have to decide now. In fact, I would suggest you don't even try. Especially because we have a lot of time before this is going to be posted, a lot. So at some point, you can talk further about the contract parameters. Do you want to post it as a 2-year, a 3-year, or do you want to hedge your bet now and just say multi-year agreement in the posting, which you can do. You can decide the number of years when you're negotiating a contract, it doesn't matter.
I like the multi-year.
You like that? Yeah. I think why not, right? Because again, it gives you some latitude when you're negotiating a contract, once you know who the candidate is, right? Compensation, though. This is going to be important. We're not going to decide this today unless you've already made a decision. But you want to put a salary range in the posting. The range typically, the gap, it's a minimum and maximum. We will certainly pay at least this much. We're not giving a salary of any more than this. The range typically we see $15,000 to $20,000 gap between those two. minimum, maximum, right?
Yes.
So, quite often districts will look at what their most recent superintendent was making and have a range that's somewhere in that ballpark. I will tell you that if you put a posting out for a salary that is less than your previous superintendent was making, there will be people who will say thanks, but no thanks, right out of the gate. I would think you at least want to go that far, but ultimately that's going to be up to you. If it would be helpful to you, what we can do is we can put together a bit of a salary comparison, looking at other districts in the area, other districts of a similar size. So you have some basis of comparison before you make that decision. Would you find that helpful?
Yes.
Okay, and then are there particular districts who you think you would especially want to see what they're paying as a basis of comparison, so that we can be sure to include them here?
We're mostly compared, I think, to Livonia.
Okay, so for sure we include Livonia, Plymouth Canton, Novi. We won't limit it to who you're naming, but we want to make sure to include who you'd like us to.
So, we name districts that are neighboring districts. What about districts that are around the same size, and even looking at demographics and student achievement wise? So, and I don't know off the top of my head, but
Okay, if
we
you'd like
could
us to
look at
consider that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
The only thing that we'll want to be careful of is not going into rural versus suburban. Because that'll be quite different.
Like Detroit is a different way off.
So we could do that, and we're talking right now salary, understanding that most superintendents have in their contract other types of compensation beyond just salary. But for this purpose, it's just salary. So even if the salary range, and this is where when we have these conversations, I've had the conversation with people where they'll say, man, that salary, that top of the salary range, it's not that much higher than what I'm making now. So partly what I'll remind them of is that when it comes time to negotiate, there are other forms of compensation that you could, and I don't know what other forms of compensation you've given other superintendents. That could be a tax sheltered annuity, that could be mileage, that could be, right. So know that too, that even for your sake and for the candidate's sake, that's an opportunity, whatever you've posted as a salary range. If you need to sweeten the pot to a certain extent or whatever you may need to do, that's another opportunity for you to do it.
I would just add here that usually that's conducted between the board president and the incoming superintendent, but I certainly want to see that whole contract before I vote on it.
Sure, and when the time comes, usually the motion, we'll provide you a sample motion when you pick the new superintendent. And usually that language says something like, we authorize the board president to engage in negotiations on behalf of the board, something like that. But absolutely, the expectation should be that there's that kind of transparency where before you're taking any vote, you know exactly what it is that you're voting on and have a chance to weigh in, for sure. Okay, so we will get together a comparison. And again, the good news is that we're not actually putting that position announcement out until January. We've got plenty of time for that, but we'll get after that for you. We'll put that in your hands. We talked about candidate recommendations. If you got those, send those to us. We do want to take, we do have time for it, just a little bit of time to get some of the same feedback from you that we're going to be asking for others. Not only is that going to give you a feel for what we're going to be asking, but we need to know where you're coming from on this. So, are you up to this? You got about a half an hour before we said we'd stop.
I think this is very important.
Okay, you do too. All right, Julie, I'm
You want me
recovering.
to be the scribe?
I'm still recovering from torn Achilles in my right leg, so I'm staying off my feet a little bit, and Sheila's going to be kind enough to go to the big board, so you're going to give responses. Let me move out of the way. And,
Anybody want anything before I pack it up?
yes.
Yep.
So first question, and this is just brainstorming, we're not looking for consensus, fire away. Key skills, abilities, and characteristics that you think think your next superintendent needs to have?
I think it needs to be, they need to be an innovator. We're in the midst of a revolution in terms of, technology.
Mhm.
And how do they see technology role in education and how we can adapt it, things like AI into the classroom.
Thank you.
On a broader term, integrity.
I'm sorry, pardon?
Integrity.
Integrity. Going to alternate. I think I'll just stick with Grant.
That's okay.
I would say educational branding or marketing experience.
In the broadest sense, communication. Especially with board members.
So, I know Andrew said, innovative, we talked a lot about technology, and I agree with that, but I also think beyond technology, like our students, the way in which they learn, their engagement is so different than what it used to be. So being, not just open, but, in the forefront of that, allowing us to be a district that does something different, you know what I mean, that is set apart from what others are doing. I would also think, student focused, and I feel like that should be a given, but it's not always a given,
I agree with both of those things.
so,
John, I'm just speaking for myself, but I think maybe others would agree. I'm really tired of our lack of moving our students forward. We end up in the same old dump, so I want to know what a superintendent is going to do about student achievement.
Yeah, someone with a track record of moving
Because
students forward.
as I've said, this has been many years.
Many years. So would it be safe to say ability to improve student achievement, academic outcomes?
Yes.
Yes.
and I would also say, and I know you're writing, and I don't mean it, she was.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
I can multitask pretty well, thank you.
Okay. Community engagement, that ability to engage community and parents, not the idea of we do to, but we do with our community and our parents and our students. And I'll go even broader just to say, like, in my mind, when I think about our district demographics in terms of socioeconomics, the needs of our students, that our schools should be open, like they shouldn't just close at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and then our kids are just free to do whatever, meaning like they don't have that engagement where this is a hub, this is a route for kids. So when we talk about that community engagement piece, I don't want to hear just about all of these great partnerships where we get money, but partnerships where these people are in our schools and working with our students and our families, if that makes sense. And I don't know, that's the engagement piece, but I want to be able to
So-
define engagement.
I think what you're saying, and you can correct me, please, is that you're looking for your school to become a community hub,
Absolutely.
where it's not just that kids come to school here from 8 to 3 or 9 to 4, but that the schools are open in the evening for, the media centers are open, the
The gyms.
The gyms are open.
Yes, yes,
So
and I'm
that
not
the
saying it
schools
like
become a
staff, but it's
community hub.
open, yes.
Okay.
Like staff can work, of course, but we're not afraid to
Or if
open
it's
it up
not
because we're
staff,
saying.
it could also be
Right, that's what I
volunteers
mean.
that come in.
Volunteers or other organizations, but those organizations are inviting in our kids and our families.
I agree with what you're saying there, in total agreement with it. But if we start talking about staff members doing something, they're,
But that's what I said, so that was my point, to say that I'm not saying for staff members to do it. I'm saying community organizations doing it, so they bring in their own staff to do it. I'm not saying our staff members,
Well,
that's what I
no,
wanna be clear.
what I would
But if
say-
our staff members want to, they can, do you know what I mean? But I don't want it to be where I'm saying this soup is focused on getting our staff to stay after work to do things, that's not what I'm saying.
If I can jump in, you're saying you want the new superintendent to have that be an area of focus and to strive to work in that direct. How he or she pulls it off is a different story. We don't have to figure that out today, but you at least want that to be something that the person is willing and able and interested in doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe has experience.
And maybe
Has
it's for sure,
experience,
maybe
exactly.
even better.
And then I'm gonna just throw this in and I'll stop, I'll be quiet, but, increasing enrollment.
Yes.
Like, that has to be a focus and an experience, person having experience in that, ideas on how to do it. Increasing and retaining.
Maintaining.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, when Kimberly continued talking about and I may be saying this wrong, so I don't wanna offend nobody. Just being aware of the demographics of the school and the community, because we are recognizing that we are a suburban school, but we are between suburban and urban right now. You know, the district can go, just by a few numbers, it can go either way. So just being able, that ability of recognizing that and adopting to that, which means maybe bringing in different programs, or, you see what I'm saying, or different teachers. Our educators in our school does not match our students. It's, yeah, just recognizing that and being able to adapt to those changes.
So embracing
Yeah.
our changing demographics.
Yeah.
So,
What you say, Kim?
Embracing our changing demographics.
Right.
The awareness and embracing.
so I was going to say,
Sorry.
recognizes, values, respects, changing demographics. But I'll go along with what
Nope,
you
that
said.
works, whatever.
Works.
That
That
works.
works.
I would also say fiscal management experience, being able to manage a multi-million-dollar budget, possibly some experience in that, and grants, things of that nature.
Do anybody want to go to Amazon? We closed today. Anybody want to go to Amazon? We closed today. So what would they do, just leave the taxis outside?
Yeah.
They do this every day. I'm usually not here on Saturdays.
Was the next one financial,
Fiscal management.
fiscal management? Thank you.
Experience.
Something else that's getting good is data analytics. And taking a look at where our strengths are, and also our weaknesses, and coming up with a game plan on how to close that gap. There are needs in this community right now that I think we struggle with. And so I think data analytics to focus the district on what we need to do.
So would it be reflective of what you said, for me to write, uses, district data for decision-making purposes.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if that's exactly what you want to say, just want to make sure that I'm clear
Yeah.
on that.
because as an engineer, I'm very data-driven. Where are my shortfalls? What do I need to do to cut off error states?
I also think, I'm just gonna say it, it's not gonna be said in a way for you to write it, but the personality and the ability to build a team and to move a team along, right? Because we can want a superintendent to have all of these skills, and they may not, but can they hire and build a team
Right.
that has these abilities to move the district?
That's really critical. I always say, if you are the smartest person in the room, you better find another room to be in.
Yeah.
The leader should surround him or herself with people who are smarter than them, because they make the right decisions.
Yes, yes. So however you want to write that, and then the ability to hold people accountable, because that's
Okay.
another piece.
Okay.
And I think, that can be challenging. You're trying to build a team, you want to give people opportunities. but-
Challenging but necessary,
Absolutely, absolutely.
essential.
Essential.
Challenging job, right? In many ways.
And then I'm gonna add one more thing, and that's just a lifelong learner. And I know that's cliche, but I mean it in a sense of having someone that wants to continue to learn and wants to ensure that the staff is continuing to learn and providing those spaces and just leading the district in a way that continuous learning is always happening. If that makes sense.
So maintains own personal professional development and,
Promotes among the staff.
pardon me?
Yeah, and I don't wanna
Promotes
just,
among the staff.
yeah, and I don't know if I wanna use professional development, cause I don't mean canned.
No,
You know what I mean? I want somebody that is truly invested in learning, and so that goes along with that innovation piece, right?
Okay.
Because you're reading constantly, you're researching, you're finding out what else is out there, and you're bringing it to the table and you're pushing others to do the same, right? And having them not be afraid to take risks that are for the betterment of our kids. Does that, and I don't know how to put all of that in a
Is
short.
that more like stays professionally current? More than that?
Yeah, something like that. But, I mean, that's fine. I just, because to me, when you start saying that, then it's like people just start rolling off professional development that they've attended or that they've
Yeah, that's not what
participated
you're
in.
talking about.
And that's not what I'm talking about. Like, I truly want a learner, if that makes sense, someone that is always learning, that's willing to read, that's willing to try new things, that's willing to bring these new
Open
things
to
to
new
the
ideas.
team. Yeah, but, yeah, it's this level of intelligence that I would like to see, I guess. And I don't know how to really put it into a canned piece to go on there, and maybe it's just that lifelong learner, and we just leave it at that, but,
A commitment to lifelong learning for self and for staff
yeah,
at the start.
yeah, that's a start. I don't know, I don't even know if I'm making sense to people.
I know
Like-
exactly, it's just hard to put it into words.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
You want somebody to open to like learning new ways, ideas, alternatives, building.
And bring it to the
creating,
table, and
like,
not just,
Solutions, you want
Yeah.
somebody with solutions.
The world
Continuing the
continues to
learning
change
by-
around us, you have to
yeah,
continue to learn all and adjust and adapt and.
yes,
Right.
and not be afraid to try new things,
Right.
because we have to with our kids.
Right.
Like even now, going from where we at now to AI, you see what I'm saying? That's continuing, that will be in our district and everything.
That's what I was going to say, is, I don't know how we can put this with someone that's willing to embrace AI, possibly have AI experience or.
Continue technology growth.
Yeah.
Cause it's gonna continue, it's AI now, but it's gonna be something else. I was on there.
Isn't that what he said? Andrew, the innovative and technology?
Yeah, that's what I was saying, it would fit under innovative and technology.
I was just making sure it was the same, I'm sorry. Or if it was something different.
Did I hear someone say something about embracing AI?
Yeah, and just embracing AI, I know that will fall under innovative and technology, but specifically putting AI in some.
And bringing that into the schools and into the classroom?
How you would integrate that into our educational curriculum.
And I think it's the community, I want to see somebody that is like, when I say engage with the community, if you need to knock on doors, you're knocking on doors.
Right.
Like, not afraid to talk to parents, not sending their staff to talk to parents.
I think we do have it.
Okay.
What I was gonna say is maybe y'all can help me put it together, you know. Because you the professional, you know, the super's gonna be the professional, but sometimes your staff may be the expert in it. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes you may not know the financial data, but before you sign off on it, you know, being able to dot your I's and cross your T's and just, instead of just approving it, you see what I'm saying? Being able, even though you the professional and they the expert, being able to work with them to get all the answers instead of just submitting it. I just feel like we had a problem before and it was just pushed over. I'm not the expert, but even if you the professional and your staff is the expert, you gotta just have more than confidence in your staff. You gotta be able to have enough knowledge, expertise to be able to check it and know that it's correct before it's submitted.
So being able to like trust and verify.
Thank
That's
you.
what I always
Okay.
say.
Yeah,
Trust it. So you trust your people, but you also verify.
Absolutely. I'm trying to think, there was a president who always said trust but verify. I can't remember which one it was.
it wasn't the one we got now.
Any others that you feel it's essential to include? I want to be mindful of the time. There's 2 other questions we have for you.
I
wanna
just,
cut you off.
I want to address something that was said a little bit earlier. I have no personal opinion about what our next superintendent's race or ethnicity is. But when statements are made like, you know, people that look like us or something like that, we can get into a terrible situation in hiring. And what I mean by that is, again, I have no personal preference, but we can't lock ourselves in at this point.
Well, that way, no point will be a point of discussion or consideration. In fact, we're going to put a statement in the posting that basically says you're an equal opportunity employee. That can be effective.
And I want to be clear, that
Can I
wasn't,
just clear that up?
I want to be clear, that was not said in this room today at all. Nothing like that was said in this room.
But it has been said in our boardroom.
Well, I don't know about that. What I said today was that for somebody to be open and, getting more staff, recruiting staff that looks like our children. I said that we have less staff that look like our children. That's what I said. I didn't say nothing about the superintendent color. I said staff.
Well, I've already said color is not a.
Color is not, it's not just our color, but it's other colors too.
Mhm.
Right.
Or just being open that kids wear pink hair now. So it don't even have to be color, just being open to what comes to our schools every day.
You can't legally consider race,
No.
ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, you name it, you cannot consider any of those things in hiring practice.
Well, let me apologize to anybody that I may have offended. I was just talking about recruiting more staff that looks like the students that we have.
So next question, and this partly comes to what we have to do too, part of this is recruitment. So what are the compelling reasons as to why somebody would want to be here as superintendent, in your opinion? What's something maybe we want to share with people to say, well, you want to think about this is why this could be a great spot for you and why you should want to be here.
So I'll name a couple of things. I think the diversity of our district. I also think the challenges that exist in our district really gives a superintendent the opportunity to put this district on the map.
Really make a difference.
Absolutely. I think our CTE programming is another good reason. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just,
Keep going, I'm.
oh, she's all right, go ahead.
Okay. I mean, and I'll stop and give other people a chance. With those are my, yeah.
All right.
And one thing I like too, I was so impressed that way more of the 17.5 million in scholarships. That was just like impressive, just the
That is.
academics and then even with Wayne, like being like a school of performing arts, the basketball team, the sports, we got our podcast, so being financially stable is really good at this time.
Financially stable.
Oh, and our Wayne Memorial Band got invited to the Thanksgiving parade this year. So, hey, that's an honor for the superintendent. But I would say also the demographics. Like I said, years and years, we've been labeled as a suburban school. Just so the diversity that's coming to the school, being able to be in a diverse place will be good for the superintendent.
I think that we have some really phenomenal students that we don't always talk about or showcase. And I think that goes back to, the diversity of the district, the challenges of the district, like somebody being able to come in and really uncover, I should say, not uncouple, but uncover and see what this district really truly has. Our facilities, we have phenomenal facilities. I think that's another one. And I think we have a fantastic staff. I think we have phenomenal staff. I think that with the right leadership, there are so many things that we can do with our staff.
And we have a great deal of staff that's alumni, that was students here, that live in the community.
Yeah.
A great deal of our staff. I'm sorry, Andrew.
And I was gonna go back, it impresses me, the more I get working with some of these teachers, how dedicated they are, with their students. And it's not just our teachers, even our parents are building the support staff at the buildings. It's just a great group of people that this district has gone out and employed.
And even our custodians, I was at John Glenn yesterday, I was so impressed at how clean the floors was. I told the staff, oh my, it was shiny to see your face, it was beautiful, like even the buses, it's like, it was amazing.
And I think that's one of the highlights, right? When we talk about the staff and the facilities and just that community, right? Because so many school districts are not, they're communities, but the staff and the kid, everybody is not living within the community like it used to be, right? Because of whatever has occurred. And I think we have more of that here, more of that staff lives in the community. And when we say staff, not just teaching staff, all staff. So there's that level of ownership that exists for people around this district because it's my district. My tax money goes to this district.
Fred, you see it, your own wife works for the district.
I know that she puts in many hours that are not paid for. I know we're onto a different list, but I just wanted to mention this for our next superintendent. I would hope that the man, woman, whoever it is, that would come in would pay special attention to a two-pronged approach One is our college-bound students, and the other is the CT,
Career tech.
Career Tech. We're putting out a lot of students who are going right into HVAC and making good money, things like that. But I don't want to see our college-bound students neglected, just
Right.
because they take care of themselves mostly.
So something,
Yeah, I don't know
About
how
college
to
or
put
career
that, I
readiness.
just,
addressing both.
Yeah, because then they begin career, what you call it, put up something at John Glenn, career ready.
College and career readiness.
College, career ready. Yeah, that program ended here.
Sheila's gonna end that, or add that there. Anything else while she's doing that jumps out in terms of looking at that compelling why? And then there's just one last question we want to ask.
I think that's a good start right there.
It's a very good start. We'll be asking this again in an online survey, and basically we'll get a lot more data on this too.
That's a good start.
Okay, I'm gonna tear this off, and then the last question, and Sheila's gonna come back to this. What are the, give Sheila a chance to come back. What are just think about it for a second, the significant challenges, the ones that really jump out, I'm sure you could probably name 50, right? But when you think about the challenges for this new superintendent that he or she's gonna need to tackle, head on, early on, what are those things that jump out?
It's gonna be trust with the staff, because they're like, oh, no, another superintendent, they're gonna be pushing their views on us, and that's challenging, we don't want them jumping ship.
Okay, somebody's gonna have to earn the trust of the staff. That'd be a challenge for them.
I would
With the
say
staff
student
and
achievement and enrollment.
What you say, Kim?
Student achievement and enrollment.
Okay.
So earning the trust of the staff.
Trust with staff,
Yeah, and then
student
student achievement and enrollment.
student enrollment.
absenteeism.
Student and staff, what about?
We're a student, I'm not aware of a lot of staff that skips.
Well, no, I just want to ask,
You mean students?
Right.
Okay.
My kids' bus ain't been canceled this year, so I think we
No,
doing
but
good.
we still struggle with
Yeah.
students because, let's face it, the demographics, when
The demographic.
when mom has to go to work and she can't brother or sister staying home to take care of the little ones. So we gotta figure out a way to help out that still. And I'm not convinced the transportation issues are completely solved. I think they're solved right now,
Right,
but.
Right. so far so good, and that's just over in my kids.
Right.
I don't know if other buses been canceled, but they usually rotate them, so I think we got enough, yeah.
I would say maybe climate and culture, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll say climate and culture and thinking around, shifting some beliefs of what students can do.
Increasing expectations for student success.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
In some ways, I don't think we ask, some ways I think we ask too little, and we need to challenge them. I think we would be, honestly, a lot of people would be surprised. These children rise when they're challenged.
Yes, they do.
And so, yeah.
I'm just walking around, so
Okay.
please don't
Been sitting for a long time.
break.
That's a pretty strong list. Anything else jump out at you that you think really should be on the radar of somebody who manages a new soup immediately?
willingness to work with the board.
That's a challenge.
You think that's a challenge?
It has been in the past, you don't think so?
Or it can be quite rude.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't think we
doing great right now.
but I don't think we're a challenge. Like, to me, I don't think.
Which board meeting you miss? As she said,
Working relationship with the school board?
It's challenge, so.
Cause it can change every time you have an election year. You know, we got 3 seats up right now, you know, for the 26th.
Well, I mean, right.
How about if I say maintain effective working relationship with board?
It was her suggestion, so I don't know. I don't think we are a challenge.
Well, remember, we're not looking for, she said it, we're not.
Yeah,
looking
that's what I
for
said.
consensus.
No, that's why I was
We're gonna
like,
include it.
when she was looking at me, I was like, it's up to her, because
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
hers, yeah, not mine.
You're right.
I have to agree with what Kimberly just said. For the most part, this board, once we have a superintendent, we are most likely, and I would say almost all the time, following that man or woman, allowing them to, run the district, but to who's open to hear a board member if a board member has a difficulty.
Not that question was about the primary challenges that they would have to face.
Okay, and see, that's what I was just thinking of, the challenge, because we have had challenges before where,
Primary challenges.
Okay.
So that's where I was like.
but I
That's more-
appreciate that.
That's more personality than
Yeah.
primary.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about, just that
Right.
primary challenge word.
You didn't say nothing wrong, I mean, I appreciate it.
All right, so we overshot by 5 minutes, it's not too bad, but
We okay?
but remember the goal here, part of it for this was to make sure that you were gonna walk out the door feeling like you were fully informed, know exactly what to expect coming forward. No outstanding questions for the moment, not that you can't ask them after you leave here, you certainly can, but, so with that in mind, any other questions that you want to raise for us?
Would you think, would it be a good idea if we start a Q&A with Kim, or do y'all think that y'all don't want people to know the questions that y'all?
Well, you
Since
know,
she's your contact person, would it be good if we can just send her our questions and she can just forward them to you?
well, if you have any questions after this, by all means, yeah, that's exactly what we're asking you to do, is just shoot them to Kim, she'll share them with us, and we'll answer for the entire board. The one thing I did want to raise, forgot, is, I don't know if you've done this already, I haven't looked, but it would be beneficial if you started to have a link on your webpage for superintendent search, where you could start to include information, talk about being transparent and informative, but to make it easy for people to find information on the search. So a link on your homepage specific to the superintendent search, and then people click on that and they can find anything and everything about the search that they may be
And
interested
it's
in.
on the homepage,
Yeah.
on your
A
district
homepage
website.
link.
Maybe even a video of our board president
Sure.
sharing.
Sure.
Kimberly looks very excited about that. But I know, I understand the
You
point.
know, and one of the,
I think we all
one of
can
the
be in
things
the
you could post
video.
there is, you could post right now, you could post the timeline.
The timeline should be posted, but I don't know, it was shared out, I don't think it's
Yeah,
posted,
so-
and that's where we need to,
The
yeah.
superintendent search, then you
Yeah.
start posting items there. So
people
now you
click on
have a
that link,
transparency
all- yeah,
to
all those
anyone
things.
in the district who wants to access
The
that.
survey link can go there, the survey information, the interview schedules, once you pick your candidates, you put those on, everything.
So-
One link, on the
One place,
homepage,
Yeah,
easy
and
to
then,
find.
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
I'll work with them.
5 minutes after 12 is good, long as it's not 5 minutes after 9 p.m.
I hear you.
And also, when I call you next week, just say, Luana, you supposed to call Kim, because sometimes I forget.
All right, Luana.
Sometimes Kim ain't available and I got a question.
Luana, Why are you calling me? What did I tell you, Luana?
You can do that. Sometimes Luana needs to be reminded.
So we're ready to adjourn?
We are.
Okay,
Thank
so.
If you are,
Yeah, I'm trying to hurry up. No, I'm just not, I'm not trying to hurry up. I just don't want to get Luana started again. So 12:08 PM,
Wow.
12:08, I'm asking for, looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support,
Support.
all in favor?
Uh,
Aye.
Thank you all so much for being here. I
Thank you.
appreciate it, Debbie.